today we're going to look at SD 49.2, the Chula Sihanada Sutta, the lesser discourse on the lion roar, M11. The theme here is witnessing the true teaching and principles of Buddhist missiology. Now, Sihanada means lion roar. Siha is lion, nada is kind of sound, roar. The lion roar is a special term in early Buddhism referring to the statements made by the Buddha and the saints, the Arahats especially, as a kind of public witness of faith, declaring that Buddha Dharma is the true teaching. And in this Buddha Sutta, there are certain uniqueness of the Buddha's teaching which are declared. Why lion roar? Why the lion? The explanation is found in Anicca Siha Sutta A210, where it is said that when a lion roars, all the animals in the jungle would tremble, would cower, would try to go back to their safe places. So the lion's roar is a kind of a loud, majestic, resonant sound that vibrates, reverberates throughout the jungle. So the Buddha Dharma is also like that. It started under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya in India, but that sound of the Buddha's voice, the teaching, still reverberates to us today. Even today, here you and I, we are listening to the Buddha's teaching. So the Buddha's lion roar can be said to be his whole teaching even. Okay, so there are two ways of looking at it, as a kind of special term referring to a particular statement as made in the sutta, and the Buddha's teaching as a whole. The word lion roar is not usually applied to a statement by the unawakened, but of course there's nothing wrong if we do apply it to reflect a kind of a certain statement of faith by a follower. Usually the term, the thunder of the lay person is used to reflect the declaration of faith by the laity, the unawakened. Now let's look at what the sutta tells us. The translation starts on page 99. Your page will probably, what page is this? The lesser discourse on the lion roar, the translation, 98 or something.
98 out of no linear for two extremes.
What page is it?
94.
94, okay. I've readjusted the spacing in my book. So, the lesser discourse on the lion roar, M11. Thus have I heard, at one time the Blessed One was staying in Anathapindika Spa monastery in Jeta's Grove outside Savatthi. So here again we see the Buddha initiating the talk. Then the Blessed One addresses the monks, bhikshus. Bhante, the monks replied in assent. The Blessed One said this. So here we see the Buddha initiating the teaching which he sees as suitable for the monks. Only here, bhikshus, there is the recluse. Here there is the second recluse. Here there is the third recluse. Here there is the fourth recluse. Recluse, here the word is samana. Well, this is a special term for the monk, the practicing monk in other words. In fact, samana or Sanskrit shramana is a general term, refers to any of those holy people, especially those who have left home, who are not Brahmins, who are in fact against the Brahmanical teachings, because in those days the Brahmanical teachings kind of dominant, and they reach a very corrupted level, promoting the caste system, placing emphasis on external worship and rituals and sacrifices and so on. Whereas the samanists or the shramanists, they are the ones who reject the Vedas, and they say that you are responsible for your own action. Karma doesn't mean ritual, karma means your own self-responsible action, and so on. In other words, spirituality is within you. So here the Buddha is declaring that the four kinds of saints, so these Shramanas are the four kinds of saints, the Strimana, the once-returner, the non-returner, and the Arahat are only found in the Buddha's teaching. That is where there is the Eightfold Path. So this is the line drawn. It's very clear. Sainthood, nirvana is only found in early Buddhism, not in other religions, not even in other forms of Buddhism that reject early Buddhism, that reject the Buddha, that reject the Arahats. So they also reject nirvana. So this is a very important fact for us to remember. We should study this sutta also in connection with the Sambuddha Sutta, where the Buddha talks about the awakening that he has himself attained, and the awakening of the Arahats are the same. In other words, there's only one awakening, and that's Arahathood. In the case of the Buddha, he's the first amongst equals, the Arahats, primus inter pares. So the awakening, Arahathood are all the same. Then the Buddha continues to emphasize the statement he has made. 2.2, he says, empty of recluses are the other outside doctrines. Thus, bhikshus, you rightly row the line raw. I notice that the monks are also said to make the line raw. So when we make this kind of statement, we say, okay, this is the truth that the Buddha has taught us in the Chula Sihanada Sutta. The four kinds of saints are only found in early Buddhism. Awakening is only found in the Buddha's teaching. In the Eightfold Path, Nirvana is only found in the Buddha Dharma. That's the line rule. That's the truth that we accept, in other words. It's not just a matter of stating this as a fact. The meaning is that we should practice the three trainings, build up our moral virtue for the sake of mental cultivation, and both to build up our insight wisdom to attain nirvana. Then the Buddha goes into further details what he means by this. He says that there are, of course, other religious people, other religions may also claim they have the same teachings. So here the Buddha is telling the monks, teaching us how to differentiate early Buddhism, the Buddha Dharma, from other teachings that will not have the path of awakening, that have the four saints. Here the Buddha talks about the four qualities. In section 3.3, you have the Buddha says, well, you may declare that you have confidence or faith in the teacher, that you have confidence in the Dharma, the teaching, you have fulfilled moral virtue, and the last one is our fellow Dhammafarers, both householders and renunciants are dear and agreeable. In other words, there's very strong fellowship amongst the renunciants as well as the lay followers. So these four kind of they characterize a good religion. So other people of other religions may also say, oh, we have all these four qualities too. We respect our teacher, we have our Dharma, our teaching, we also have moral virtue or morality, and there is fellowship in our religion. So the question now is, what is the difference Right? So here the Buddha answers, this is the difference, section 5. The Buddha says, Bhikshus, if the wanderers of other sects should speak thus, they should be answered thus. Now, Avussos, is the goal one or is the goal many? Like, do you have just one goal or do you have many different destinations? Answering rightly, Bhikshus, the wanderers of other sects would answer thus, the goal is one. The goal is not many, so they might say, okay, we also have one goal, okay, fine. But then again, what is the difference? Here, the Buddha says, the goal, Avussos, is for one without lust, not for one with lust. And the one next is for one without hate. So these are the qualities, in other words, that a true practitioner, a true seer must have. He is without delusion, number 3, and without craving, number 4. Number 5 is without clinging. So these are different aspects of mental defilements. Next one, with vision, so able to see the true nature of things. And then one who neither favors nor opposes. In other words, there is no liking or disliking of people and so on. So they keep a calm mind on a social level at least. And the last one is the goal is for one who neither delights in nor enjoys mental proliferation. This, in other words, is involving a lot of thoughts. If the person has a lot of thoughts, then he will not be at peace with himself. He's caught up with the world. So meditation is to clear away the thoughts. So this is a list of mental qualities, including some social, wholesome social qualities too, that characterize a good religion. Then, next point, the Buddha says, the true religion also avoids the two extremes. So this famous statement is made in the first discourse, the the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, where the Buddha says that there are two views. One is to say that something exists, and the other, something doesn't exist. So two forms of extremes, views here, not the practices, but views. So here, the Buddha says that there may be some of the recluses, people in other religions who understand this, they may accept it, but there are many others who don't understand this and who reject this kind of idea. So these are general statements differentiating early Buddhism with other forms of Buddhism and other religions even. Now comes the key ideas, which are very important for us to remember, what really differentiates early Buddhism, the teaching of the historical Buddha, and other religions. This is the section on the 4 kinds of clinging. Section 9. There are bhikshus, these 4 kinds of clinging. What are the 4? Clinging to sensual pleasures, clinging to views, clinging to rituals and vows, clinging to a self-doctrine. So these are 4 key ideas which hold us back in this world, cause us suffering and so on. So in this section the Buddha says there are those wise men, religious people who declare a full understanding of clinging to sensual pleasures. Maybe they really understand all this and they're able to overcome this kind of attachment. They are pure to that extent, but there's a big but here. They lack any kind of an understanding regarding the other 3 kinds of clingings. They have wrong views. They are attached to rituals and vows, and they have a self-doctrine. They believe in some kind of eternal soul and so on. So they are right in point 1, but wrong in all the other 3. So they're not perfect at all in that sense. Then secondly, there are those who do not, or those who reject sensual pleasures, who understand the nature of sensual pleasures and kind of say, okay, we don't like these things, we let go of them. And they also have some kind of wholesome views, helpful, right views even, but they lack understanding in the last two forms of clinging. That is, they still get caught up with rituals and vows. In other words, they still look for answers externally. And they have this self-doctrine. Now this self-doctrine is expressed last year. Okay? So they have this idea of some kind of eternal soul, some kind of essence and so on. So this is the second group. Now the third group of this kind of wise men or religious people, they understand the nature of sensual pleasures, they are even able to reject sensual pleasures. They also understand right views very well. But number three, they also do not perform rituals and vows or minimize rituals and vows. But they still are caught up with the last one, which is the most tricky one, that is self-identity view. That is self-doctrine, in other words, the idea of the self, the soul, and so on. So here is, again, we have a very important statement here, meaning the big difference between early Buddhism and other teachings, even other forms of Buddhism, is that early Buddhism is very clear about anatta, anattama, or non-self. The idea that there's nothing permanent, nothing abiding, everything is changing all the time. So this is what differentiates early Buddhism from other forms of Buddhism. Even within Buddhism, a big family of religions, we see, for example, in Chinese Buddhism, there is still some kind of belief in a kind of soul, some kind of, in Chinese it's called linghun, a kind of essence. When a person dies, there is this essence left behind. So this is, of course, the influence of Taoism. So this is why we need to study this sutta and know the key differences that early Buddhism is. So we must be careful not to summarily say, oh, all religions are the same. Buddhism is just like any other religion. This is not true. If that's the case, we don't need to have Buddhism. There is a purpose behind the Buddha's teaching. It's like, we have a sharp knife which works very well with us. But we say, oh, all knives are the same, and let's throw away this sharp knife and just use any other kind of knife. But the other knives are not very sharp, they rust easily, they don't cut very well. So this is where this knife is wisdom of early Buddhism. Right, so the Buddha continues and say, now in early Buddhism we don't not only have these four qualities, confidence in the teacher, confidence in the teaching, fulfillment of moral virtue, and fellowship amongst the renunciants as well as the laity. But there is also the full understanding of the four kinds of clingings regarding sensual pleasures, regarding views, regarding rituals and vows, and the self-doctrine. So, in other words, all these clinging are given. So, in the last part, the Buddha explains how this clinging is given up. So this is where the Buddha gives the 8-link dependent arising and dependent ending in section 16. And bhikshus, regarding the four kinds of clinging, what is their source? What is their cause? What is their birth? What is their origin? These four kinds of clinging have craving as their source, origin, and so on. So here the Buddha is saying, okay, he takes clinging as a set. Okay? Where does clinging arise? It arises to craving. How does craving arise? Through feeling. How does feeling arise? through contact, sense impression, the working of the senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And next, how do contacts arise? Through the 6 sense bases, which I've just mentioned. And then, how does 6 sense bases arise? Through name and form. In other words, here, the mind, through the senses, makes sense of something out there. So, it gives it a name. For example, sound, we say, okay, music and so on. So there is this thing out there, and we give it a name. So there is a name in the mind and the form outside. We link it together, and we have this name and form, which leads to the senses arising, the 6 senses. Okay, so then the Buddha asks, how do name and form arise? They arise from consciousness. So here we're tracing the kind of mental process back to the root, so to speak. Then how does consciousness arise? Consciousness arises through formations. Okay, formations here is another term for karma in the mental sense. And how does karma, or how does these formations or mental formations arise? They arise through ignorance. Right? So this is the bottom line, so to speak. So you can reverse the cycle for kind of a better understanding. From ignorance arises formations, from formation arises consciousness, from consciousness arises name and form, from name and form comes the 6 senses. From the 6 senses there is contact, sense contact. From the contact arises feeling or feelings. From feelings there is craving, and from craving there is clinging. And from clinging, of course, there's a whole gamut of suffering. So we have to get rid of the root, that is ignorance. So in the closing section, the Buddha says, and bhikshus, when ignorance is abandoned, true knowledge arises. So here, true knowledge is what liberates us, and here the word is vicca. Right? So this is a common word, vicca, but here it's used as liberating knowledge. Sometimes anya is used, here vicca is used, because this is a term commonly known, but the Buddha gives it a new meaning. Liberating knowledge, true knowledge. With the fading away of ignorance and the arising of true knowledge, he clings not to the clinging that is sensual pleasures, he clings not to the clinging that is views, he clings not to the clinging that is attachment to rituals and vows, he clings not to the clinging that is self-doctrine. Without clinging, there is no agitation. If we do not cling to something, we're not troubled in any way. Without agitation, he surely himself attains nirvana. So this is not someone else does it for us, we ourselves attain it. So this is called a sandittika or sandrishtika nirvana, the nirvana which you see for yourself. He understands birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, done what needs to be done, there is no more of this state, no more suffering, no more rebirth. The Blessed One said this. The monks approve of the Blessed One's word with a joyful heart. Now notice here, nothing happens after that. There's no statement of anybody getting enlightened or even stream winning. It's just the closing line just says the monks approve of the Buddha's teaching. This means that the Buddha has given this teaching for a wider audience, for us today. So this teaching comes down to us, and we have this opportunity to look at this very important line raw, which places early Buddhism, the Buddha Dharma, the teaching of the historical Buddha, as having the highest priority in our lives, so that we can take the straight road, the noble path to awakening for ourselves. So let us now close with a short reflection. The path is still open to us even today. As long as we follow the Buddha's teaching, we don't get lost in the jungle of views, or we take the side roads and we take the path less taken and we are lost. But here we keep to the highway, to the safe way, to the path that's called the path of awakening to Nirvana. And we do this by constantly reflecting on impermanence as a start. Reflecting in this way is wonderful good karma. By the power of this karma, may we be blessed with courage and wisdom to at least aspire to string winning in this life itself. By the same token, with the blessing of the 3 jewels, let us send out our loving kindness to all our loved ones and family, those who have been kind and supportive of us, and also to those who are practicing the Buddha's teaching. May they be well, may they be happy, may they reach their goal in this life itself. And also, by the power of the 3 jewels, those who are lost and seeking the true teaching, may they see the Buddha Dharma in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.